Round of shots. James Strebel, Kevin Hale on this Monday night, December 28th. James, how are you, sir?
Doing all right. Had a nice Christmas. How about you?
It was good. Christmas, probably like you. It's all about the kids, grandkids, and they're happy. I'm happy, and life's good right now, considering
considering everything else going on, and considering this Kentucky basketball team, you gotta take the good things in life.
Yeah, you're right. This will be the last round of shots for 2020. 2020, James.
Finally over. It's finally ending. Good riddance. Thank God. Get the hell out of here. 2020. Sick of you. 2021 is gonna be better. I'm calling it now. 2021 better than 2020. They can kick rocks.
I appreciate that. Good stuff. Tonight, we're going to get ready to bring on our panel for the whole show. Jason Ence, Terry Brown, Carrie Lewis, and then around 9:15-ish to 9:20, Justin Rowland will join us. And I don't know, maybe Justin is the guy that's going to try to walk us off the ledge. James.
Well, he's going to have to do a lot of walking for me because I'm in the water. Yeah, there's no ledge. I'm fully in the water. Yeah, I mean, if there are people out there that still think that this can, and there are, and this Kentucky team can turn around and do something, God bless them, because the evidence keeps mounting in favor of the other way of missing the tournament and this being a very troublesome and disappointing year.
All right, without further ado, let's bring our very distinguished panel on.
Very distinguished.
Look, we got Terry.
Poor Terry's having some issues tonight.
Jason Ence, your buddy on ESPN 680. I've taken a liking to Jason. What do you think it is?
I'm glad you have, because Strebel didn't defend me one bit today.
Wow.
Of course not. Why would I? Radio. Exactly.
Jason's part of the ESPN 680 crew here in Louisville. Carrie Lewis and her news, Girls Beer Sports. What's up, lady?
What's going on? Recorded the final episode of 2020. It's up and everything right before this show, so then I can go to bed after I'm done talking to you.
She goes to bed after she talks to me. Is that a compliment? I mean, I don't know. I'll take it. And then our man Terry Denzel Washington Brown, straight from Training Day, the sequel. What's up?
Happy 66th birthday to Denzel Washington.
Is it really today his birthday?
Oh,
Terry's
66
on all our asses.
Are you kidding me? He's 66.
King Kong ain't got shit on me, man.
But you know who King Kong has shit on? It is this. He's either got shit on or he's been shitting on the Kentucky men's basketball program. James, Saturday, the Louisville game. It's the state game, but that game furthered our losing streak. Give me your quick summation from Saturday.
I mean, the quick summation is there are players on this team that are getting better. I think that's one of my strongest takes today. It's just not your star players. Okay, so I like what I'm seeing out of Lance Ware. Devin Askew got better. Davion Mintz obviously is getting better. Hell, Jacob Toppin has improved tremendously from game one till now. But the key guys that you need to get better, Terrence Clark, BJ Boston, Olivier Sarr, they ain't getting better. In fact, they're regressing. They're getting worse. And the whole season was predicated on those three guys, Sarr, and really Clark and Boston, to be as good as advertised. Boston, top 3-4 recruit in the country. Terrence Clark, top 10 recruit in the country. Olivier Sarr, thought to be one of the best, if not the best, outside of Carlik Jones. Grad transfers on the market. I mean, almost averaged double at Wake Forest against the ACC opposition. They all three have been absolute busts so far this season, and that's not good because the rest of the guys on the team, while they're improving and they're good, they don't have star caliber talent. At least not right now.
That's fair. Before I turn loose our panel for their take on Saturday, I got to throw this in. I did this kind of bit last week, James, and I'm going to do it again today. So this was my game summary, 8 seconds worth after the loss to Lowell. Sarr hasn't made a field goal in the last 2 games. They go to him for the game winner, and Cal's happy at the end of the game.
What the fuck happened?
Sarr. So that was
About right.
I'm dumbfounded how that play went to him, and I'm very dumbfounded with a lot of things. I'm gonna turn it over to Terry first because he has got the look. I mean, how can I not give him the floor right away?
Agreed.
Terry, give me your summary from Saturday.
Obviously, every game against Louisville is a game that I want to win. And the Cats, as bad as they looked, had the chance to win. I mean, we talk about the last play drawn up for Sarr. And, I mean, the ball did everything except go in. And I know we don't play, for moral victories, but, I mean, that was a good shot. It just didn't go down. But that being said, like James, I'm still encouraged by what I'm seeing in these role players. And the only reason I'm still holding out hope is hopefully with the stars, it kicks on, but I hate that game. I wanted to talk so much trash to Louisville fans after the game, but, one loss to your rival every 4 years by 3 points, it ain't that bad. So, I'm not going to circle the wagons about that individual game, but moving forward, there's still a lot of questions that the Cats have to answer.
Typically, it's not that bad, Carrie, but when you lose your 6th straight game and you still feel like the team is maybe I guess I did see some glimpses of progress Saturday, but here's my thing, Carrie, real quick. I touched on and / joked about Sarr getting that last shot. Why do we not? We have a very tall team. Sarr being a 7-footer, we have no inside presence. We're not posting up. We're not doing anything like that. All right, now I'm talking out loud. But Terry, first of all, Carrie, let me give you the floor. Give me your summary, and then I'll bark later.
So the answer to that question, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but that's an NBA shot, right? That's an outside NBA shot for a bigger guy like that. And what's Cal all about at this point? I mean, he's kind of about the NBA. I was disappointed in this game. I have gotten on the apathetic train. I wasn't even mad. I'm just on the apathetic train at this point. I just whatever. I'll still watch them, but I'm like, meh, whatever. Which is probably worse than being angry. But Louisville's a bad team. We're a worse team at this point. And I chalk that up partly to Cal's running a halfway house for has-been coaches. Bruiser Flint is not an answer to an assistant coach, and I'm sorry, he's just not. Orlando Antigua is floating out there right now. I know the guy had problems. Bring him back. I know Kenny Payne left, but bring back, man. I'm telling you, this halfway house for assistant coaches and your friends and your yes men assistant coaches, it's not working, man. It's just not working. And I think that's reflecting on the players. I really honestly do.
Wow. That's a take by Carrie. I like that early on. Wow.
Mr. Ence, what say you?
I'm with Carrie, and Strebel can vouch for it. We did pregame on Saturday, and I was like, if we lose, it's like whatever. I shielded myself all week, and pretty much I convinced myself, rightly so, that we were going to lose that game. I've convinced myself that we're probably going to lose 9 of the next 12, barring some huge turnaround. There's only 3 teams in the next 12 that I see us beating. I'm okay with the shot because, as I looked at it and rewatched the game on Sunday, my thought was, who do we trust to shoot on this team? Could we have gotten a better shot? Sure. But based on what? We've got guys who are afraid to go to the rim. We've got guys that can't hit jumpers. The only other guy that I would have been more comfortable with taking that shot was Mintz, and there was no way they were going to let him take that shot.
That's fair.
The fact that they were supposed to foul is kind of comical that they didn't even try to that whole sequence, although I don't know how much I believe Mac on that. But, he said tonight that Allen's going to get some run in the next game. I just feel like at this point, I agree with Carrie. You've got a bunch of yes men on the bench, and you don't have anybody that can fill that role of the go-between between Cal and the players. There's nobody that is helping to develop these guys. I think that's why you're seeing the role players do better, especially with Mintz. Sarr, they made an effort to get him the ball in the first half, but Louisville smartly kept bringing a guard down to double him when he did, and they immediately stopped doing it. And that, again, goes to the whole thing of UK when they drive to the rim. If somebody slides over, they give up. If somebody gets by them, they tend to give up. This team just doesn't seem to have the mental fortitude to fight through something when they're presented with a challenge. James was talking today with his co-host Andy Sweeney on the Take 3 to 6 Monday through Friday on ESPN 680. That how many dunks does BJ Boston have this year? And I can only remember one. I can only remember one for Terrence Clark. And these are guys that have NBA bodies that should have been getting that ball for the final couple possessions. And instead, when they touch it, in Clark's case, he's not even on the floor at the end of the game. But BJ Boston touches the ball down the stretch, and it seems to disrupt the flow. So the fact that you had a chance to win the game is nice, but even if you win the game, nothing really seemed to get better on Saturday from what I saw.
That's fair. James, follow up with Carrie's take. Or is a lot of this kind of impacted by who Cal has surrounding him right now?
I mean, I would like to say no, because I would like to give Cal more credit for who he hires, but I think the void of Kenny Payne was something that we all kind of thought. I remember when he said he's going to the next, we are all kind of like, oh, this is a really young team coming in, and it's a weird year, and a guy like Kenny Payne on the sideline would sure be nice. Because and you all know this, we have all watched copious amounts of Kentucky basketball in the Calipari era and before. Anytime a player comes out and he looks dissatisfied or upset, who's the guy that, hey, come here, talk, Kenny Payne. Kenny Payne. You saw, the last game before this game is North Carolina, the stuff with Calipari and Terrence Clark, jawing back and forth, the stuff with Cameron Fletcher. Kenny Payne was the dude that would have stopped that immediately, so it would not have carried over the way it has here recently. And not only that, I don't see any of the other coaches at least trying to kind of be an intermediary or get guys to pick their heads up or whatever. I mean, they go straight to Cal, and then sit down. And then there's nobody else really that's seemingly going to follow up or anything. I mean, I think Kenny Payne's absence is being blown up because of the factors surrounding just college basketball. It's maybe not blowing up, but exacerbating, making them more than they would have been in a normal year. But I think not having Kenny Payne in this situation has been extremely detrimental to this team. I'm not saying they'd be 6-1 with Kenny Payne, but maybe 3-4 if you had him to whatever these battles going on in the locker room, to maybe settle guys down, settle them down, bring them back down to earth, and encourage them. Because that was his calling card, man. That's what he did.
No, good points there. All right, Terry, Denzel, the Equalizer, Washington Brown. What say you? Piggyback on? Yeah, that is a great
well, here's the thing, and I think we always need to put this in bright, bold letters. I try to do this on my show, Cats Talk Wednesday, on Wednesdays. It's still a global pandemic. Nothing we talk about can get away from that. So Ben Roberts, the Herald Leader, says no top 25 team in the country has a freshman leading it in scoring. And only 2 teams in the top 25 have a freshman that's the second leading scorer. So what we're seeing from the Kentucky freshmen, it's not just Kentucky freshmen. It's not just Cal. It's college basketball wide. Everything we've done with COVID, these freshmen coming to campus on the first time, they've got a lot on their plate. Now, I think Kenny Payne would help, but when you look at the college basketball landscape as a whole, there are issues that hit Kentucky the hardest because we depend on freshmen the most. But these issues that we're seeing aren't just Kentucky issues, aren't just a Coach Cal issue. It's something that everybody's had to deal with. The best teams in the country are the older teams. Kentucky's not one. So again, I'm not excusing the 1-6, but there are lots of factors you have to look at and how we got to this point.
Carrie, one of the things that I've struggled with this season is just Cal's takes after each game or his pressers. They now more than ever, this relationship, there used to be like that 5% of our fan base that is just crazy and off the rails. They're going to complain about, if you gave them $1 million, they would complain it wasn't $2 million. But that 5% is it's not 5% now. I mean, his relationship right now with our base is at an all-time high. I'm not saying it's more than 50%, but there's a lot of people who are struggling with just the way Cal is handled this season. What say you?
So I want to speak to Terry's point. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with him about the COVID situation, but what's interesting about that is that one and done thing is now coming back finally to kind of bite us in the butt, right? Where Cal is kind of like has and people are now saying, well, all he does is recruit players and say, well, you got to be out of here in a year. You got to be out of here in a year. And maybe this COVID thing is exacerbating that mentality, right? But that's a very interesting point that Terry made. And I think that this is kind of like maybe shining a little bit of spotlight on that. But in terms of the fans, I mean, there's always going to be a percentage of the fans that are critical of Cal. There's always going to be a percentage of fans. I don't even give a crap if we go to a Final Four year. If we don't get to win a national championship, they're going to fire Cal, right? But at the same time, I think Cal has these talking points that he wants to just keep throwing out, the same talking points over and over and over again on certain years, and a lot of them are the same. And now all of a sudden, those aren't working. So he's kind of had to, like, off the top of his head, start just kind of throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks. And, oh, my God, I got to come up with new talking points. And the fan base is getting more irritated. And you're getting more fans irritated by the fact that he just keeps throwing this stuff out here that just is kind of blaming the fans on some small level. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't listen to Cal's talking points anyway, so I'm not part of that 5, 10, 15%, whatever you want to call it.
Now, I know someone who does, and that's Jason, because Jason does the post-game shows. So, Jason, 7 games in, the 6-game losing streak, Cal's presser after each game, the Dante Allen question, which, he kind of threw out today that he's going to get his opportunity now because, guys are not cutting it. What is your relationship with Cal these days?
So I think the first thing that needs to be said is no matter what happens, we could go winless the rest of the year. I think every fan has to be extremely thankful for what John Calipari's done for this program, brought us back to national prominence after a bit of a dip, brought us back to national championship, Final Fours, et cetera, et cetera. That said, I've had some issues the last couple of years, and as you and I talked a little bit earlier, I kind of got ripped for some of my opinions, got called a negative person, and you're just a hater, and Cal can't do anything right. And I think you're starting to see some of those frustrations that I've been venting. A lot of UK fans are venting them now, and I think they were okay with them for a while because we were still winning. We were still getting to Sweet 16s and maybe not getting to the Final Four, but, you could see the progress from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And James and I have talked multiple times that I think Cal's message to the players has gone stale, and I think now you're seeing with the fans it's really gotten stale. And at the beginning of the season when we're 1-2, he's breaking out the basketball bennies comments and acting like, well, you don't know anything about basketball, you're freaking out for no reason. And now we're sitting at 1-6, and it's like, well, we had a reason to be upset. And behind the scenes, we had a bunch of fires going on Saturday. I came back into the studio, and I didn't hear it live. And James told me that Cal said that he had fun coaching the team that day. I had to walk out of the studio because you have this rule that you always have in the back of your mind that you always assume the mics are hot. And I had to say some words that would have gotten some FCC fines. And
let me guess, on the take, ESPN 680, right? That's where you would have gotten fun, that said all that stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Plug number 2.
But no, I had to walk out of the room and kind of gather myself because I'm just sitting there thinking, first of all, if the tables were turned and U of L's head coach lost to Kentucky and said that, well, he had fun coaching the team that day, they'd be marching down Floyd Street. For him to say that, to not be able to read the room, to not be able to read the fan base at 1-6 and make those comments not once, not twice, but 4 times, makes me wonder if he's completely lost touch with the Kentucky fan base. It makes me wonder if maybe he doesn't want to listen to the fan base right now. It makes me wonder if it's an ego thing or, like Carrie said, just throwing things at the wall, trying to figure something out. But to make that comment after that loss to that team, I can't explain it, and it's kind of bothered me all week.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. Our man Justin Rowland, who is stepping in to get interrogated by the panel. Justin, how are you? Merry Christmas. Hope you and yours had a great Christmas.
Good. Yeah, I see a lot of people I recognize from the Twitterverse. Good to see all you guys, and you talk some Kentucky. It was like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Kentucky was what, a 10-win football team, and we thought they had a chance to win the national championship in basketball, and just shows how fickle things are, how quickly things can change, huh?
Talk us off the ledge, Justin. What's I guess for real quick, give me your quick summary from Saturday.
What is Terry in there? What is Terry? Is that okay? Are we allowed to do that? No. Oh.
Yeah, this is his Denzel Washington look. Terry, you're on mute, brother.
He just shotgunned that thing. Yeah.
Look at him. Dope, man.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure if Terry was going to drink the whole thing or just half of it when he opened it.
I'm lame out. I got my Nestle bottled water here, and Terry's just going to be in a coma before I'm gone.
Now, Terry, just saying, we're not the magnificent 7, but we're pretty close. I mean, we're the magnificent 6, right, tonight?
We are pretty close tonight. That's right.
So, Justin,
what was the question, Kevin? What was the question?
Yeah, the question. Your Saturday take.
I feel like it's a nightmare season for Calipari because everybody knows they stink, and there's really nothing he can do about it to fix it at this point. But so there's nothing he can do to fix it, and he has to go through 20 more post-game press conferences where he's supposed to say something that makes people feel better, and there's just nothing he can say that's going to fix this. And he's just got to go through it for 20 more games because this is not going to get fixed. They can't put lipstick on this pig. They don't have a point guard. They can't shoot. They're not strong inside. Guys were overrated. And you can say that there aren't locker room issues and attitude issues, but, they're going to lose enough that it's just going to get uglier and uglier. The good news for Kentucky is if there is one coach who can fix this in one season, you got to think it's Calipari. But you just got to know the rest of the season is going to be ugly.
James, based on what Justin just said about the next 20 games, you get to hear him for the next 20 games too afterwards.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today. I was like, man, I've got to watch every single one of these games. And not only watch every single one of those games, I have to go on the radio for about an hour and a half, 2 hours after, and listen to all the negative fans calling and yelling and screaming and getting mad. I mean, that's not fun. I mean, it is fun because Jason and I hang out and, we have a decent time and doing that. But it's like it's just going to beat me down mentally to have to listen. I can't imagine what John Calipari's thinking in his head about how every single practice, every game from here on out, that's got to beat him down too as well. I mean, you look at him and he doesn't look good. I mean, his head's almost completely gray and he just looks haggard and tired and worn out. And like Justin said, I don't see how it's going to get any better. I mean, if y'all the way I like it today, Davion Mintz is emerging as Kentucky's best player. Okay, your kind of go-to scorer, the leader on the court, doing things that other guys just for whatever reason can't do. Best shooter on the team. He's even penetrating and driving to the basket Saturday, which is something he hadn't really done much of, and he's getting good at it. But long story short, it reminded me a lot of Julius Mays. A guy that transferred in to be a nice piece to the puzzle, an added shooter, just a role player, and he ended up being the best player on that team after Nolan's Noel went down. I mean, down the stretch, he ended up being the best player on the team, and I feel like Davion Mintz is in a similar situation. And when guys like that are your best player, that's not a good outlook for the season, not at all.
Mm.
He was the sixth man at Creighton. The sixth man at Creighton is the best player at Kentucky. I mean, it's crazy to see that.
And you could argue that the second best player is the number 4, number 5 guy from Rhode Island. So,
which he had a solid game.
He did have a good game. Jacob Toppin played really well.
Now, you were talking about Cal's look, James. What if Cal took some dressing advice from our man Terry tonight? Terry, John Q, Brown. Now's the time we got Justin. Let's put Justin on the spot, guys. Throw Justin some questions, comments. Let's see what he has.
I got one right now.
Go.
Let's do it.
All right. Do you have any idea what's going on with Keon Brooks? Because the story was he'll miss the first 2 games or so, then he'll be back. Then it was like, well, probably the back end of the non-conference schedule. Now it's like, well, it'll be the beginning of the SEC play. And now it's like, well, he's still not going through any contact or practice, and we really don't know when he's going to be back. I mean, is it an injury situation, or is it more of a Jared Vanderbilt situation with Keon Brooks?
It makes some sense. I thought the academic stuff was just nonsense. Immediately people floated it because by all accounts he's a fantastic student, and that I'm glad Calipari mentioned that just to kind of shoot it down. But when you don't give more information, that opens the door for people to speculate on all this wild stuff. I don't have any inside information on what the injury is or whether it is a Vanderbilt situation. That seems like a plausible scenario, but I don't really like to speculate on this stuff. That's why I wish they would give more information. It's just an uncomfortable thing to speculate about.
Agreed. I wasn't. I just thought it would be a good conversation piece. And yeah, you're right. I wish they'd just give us some indication. I mean, I understand why they don't. At the same time, it's not a good look. And I don't think it's anybody's fault, but people are going to make assumptions and invent in their heads what's going on.
I think it would help them if he were playing, but I hear people cite that as a reason why they've been bad. And I don't see how you can. He solves the problem. He might make them marginally better around the edges. Maybe they're 2 and 5 instead of 1 and 6, but they still don't have a point guard. The offense is still going to be ugly. They're still not going to have a banger inside. I mean, he'd be a starter. He'd probably playing 30 minutes a game based on how the other guys are playing, but I don't think that it makes them substantially better when he comes back, if he does.
Carrie Lewis, what say you?
So this Deontay Allen situation, what do you know? Do you have any other inside information about that? I mean, if the kid can't play defense, I mean, who cares at this point? Nobody can play defense at this point. Who gives a crap, right? Just put the kid in and let him play, right? I mean, he can shoot the ball. I mean, from what we saw before he got hurt. So do you have any inside information on that or anything?
My perception, my take is what most people would probably speculate. Calipari would rather win a segment 4-2 than 15-7 because giving up a basket really eats at him. He doesn't like that, and so as a raw numbers thing, he sees 4-2 as better than 15-7. Now, yeah, I don't know if Allen really deserves to play or not. But when you're 1-6, what do you have to lose? You know, they should be throwing everything against the wall to see if something sticks. The guys that are playing, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not trying to pick on him because maybe he was hurt. Maybe he's 80%. I can't fathom Calipari putting Terrence Clark back into that game in the second half. I mean, he was awful. I mean, he was at the top of the key. He couldn't dribble. He didn't know what to do. I don't remember seeing a player that looked that poorly ranked, certainly at Kentucky since Scout. And Allen could not have been any worse than Terrence Clark was.
Jump in, Terry Brown. Or no, is it Terry? Yeah, go ahead, Terry. Go.
Well, my concern with this whole Dante Allen thing is it's become more than just Allen. There are a lot of people chirping at the edges about Cal not liking Kentucky kids, and we need more Kentucky kids, and Kentucky kids are the only ones that care. And I'm not buying that hype. High school basketball in Kentucky is not good enough to support an elite program like Kentucky. It just isn't. And I know people like to throw out, well, every championship team has had a Kentucky kid on it. I love Darius Miller. Okay? Love Darius Miller. But Anthony Davis from Chicago had a lot to do with 2012. You know, I love Cameron Mills. Worked with Cameron Mills. But Jeff Shepard being the most outstanding player of the 1998 Final Four certainly helped. So I understand it's a feel-good story to have young Kentucky kids on the team, but that's not why Kentucky's Kentucky. So I hope that the young man gets a chance to play, and we, the fans, the media, have not put him in an impossible situation. Because if he's great, he's the great Kentucky hope. If he's terrible, you know, I just hope that we have a little bit of perspective for this young man individually.
That's fair. Jason.
I mean, I'm with Justin on the Terrence Clark thing. I didn't understand why he was out there in the second half. And like I said earlier, I think it was pretty telling that he wasn't on the floor down the stretch. You know, I think what's bothered me the most about Calipari's comments about Allen's defense is that we've seen Terrence Clark can't defend very well. So if he also can't shoot, he was 6 of 26 combined between North Carolina, Kansas, and Louisville. Cal's missed on guys before, but how have we all missed on Terrence Clark this badly?
Justin?
In mind that people suggest we're testing, and I like a lot of these people. I work with some of these people, and I'm wrong way more than they are. But the fact that some people were floating Terrence Clark as a point guard, like he can barely dribble. I hate tearing down a college kid, but he doesn't have a handle, and he doesn't know what to do with the ball. And he's destroyed his stock this season. Like, I saw a mock draft where he was going in the 20s, and I'm just like what are they looking at? But the Dante Allen thing, he can't be any worse. And they don't have anything else to lose. And it looks like Calipari is being stubborn because everybody's telling him to do it. It seems like he's digging his heels in, and he doesn't want to let the mob – he doesn't want the basketball bennies to tell him what to do. And somebody said it on Twitter, and they're right on. I'm the same way. When my wife says, do this, do this, do this, I'm not going to do it. You know, it might be some of that. And, you know, Cal's human. But it can't be, you know, you're 1-6. You can't say that he's going to hurt you if you don't know.
So you really ignore your wife if she keeps saying, do this, do this?
I probably said that a little bit too loud. So sorry.
How comfy's that couch, Justin?
How much has that worked in the street ball home, Jason?
Not at all.
Not at all. I've got an ex-wife.
There you go.
I ignore my wife all the time, so
Dude.
yeah.
You know, here's a comment. Do you remember this? The NIT season? What Cal said?
I mean, he's not wrong. We're not going to the NIT either this year.
Yeah, right.
CBI.
But show me the lie in that statement.
Well, let me throw this out. If I'm not the host, but I got an interesting question. So Kentucky is not going to the tournament this year. They might finish with the worst record in 109 years. I think Cal has done a phenomenal job at Kentucky. If you look at the body of work, I think he has a better resume at Kentucky than Rick Pitino, all things considered. But, like, what if he doesn't fix it next season? Like, what if they miss the NCAA tournament 2 years in a row? Is it ever acceptable for a coach to miss the tournament 2 years in a row and keep his job? Is it possible that John Calipari is coaching for his job next season, considering it's already been 5 or 6 years without a Final Four, and at the tail end of that, no tournament? Is Calipari really going to be on the hot seat next season?
Here, let me jump in real quick. I've seen some people, podcasters, media people, that Kentucky basketball is entitled to one off season, that kind of thing. We're a freaking blue blood. To me, no. There's no excuse. I don't, especially to be anywhere near 500, and we're that might be it. We might get there. Let me throw this at you real quick. The mother of my kids, we were in a relationship for 17 years, married for 13 years. At the end of that last year, we knew things were we were going in a different direction. We did it right and amicably parted ways, and it was all about the kids. I think you're onto something here, okay, Justin, is that his time. I mean, it's just, is it get to the point where, we're just moving in two different directions here? Terry, I know, hold your thought. You can say, go ahead, Justin.
I don't see Cal as the kind of guy who stick around when things are bad for a long time. Not because I think he's a quitter, just because I think he would want to do something that he's successful in. Right. And he's got a lot of talent, and he'd want to use his time usefully. I don't know. The problem I have is, number one, he's a fix it in 1 year guy, and I don't know that he can fix it in 1 year. Like, how easy is it going to be to recruit coming off of this? How is it going to be to put a roster together coming off of this? All the momentum is gone. Kentucky's 1-6, and it's not even the biggest story in the country. And on top of that, he hasn't really shown the capacity to reinvent himself. Coach K reinvented himself 3 or 4 times over the course of his career at Duke. I mean, it was 10 years ago, we were saying he couldn't recruit. And there are reasons why that changed. But, the greatest coaches were able to reinvent themselves when they absolutely had to. And when Cal shows he can do that, and isn't just I'm going to go get better players than you guy, which is a great trade, probably the best trade. What happens when that stops working? I don't know.
Denzel.
I mean, we say that, but I remember, because Mama B is from Memphis, I remember Memphis Tigers when Cal got there, and it was just a bunch of dudes. And he had those dudes playing really, really well before he started getting the Derrick Roses and Tyreek Evans.
He did it at UMass.
He did it at UMass. So I'm not. My concern is this: we're very happy to talk about. It's been 5 years since the Final Four. My biggest fear as a Kentucky fan is that in 10 to 15 years, I'm telling my kids and grandkids, just like Nebraska football fans are telling their fans, like, you won't believe that Kentucky was good.
Oh my!
Wow, that's good.
But that's my biggest fear. And I've said this on Twitter, and people dunk on me. I'm like, you want Cal out the door, be careful what you wish for. Well, TB, we've had all these coaches that have won. Yeah. And we don't care as much about Kentucky basketball like Michigan football, Indiana basketball, all these programs that build up this momentum. It's not written in stone they're always going to be good. I think, Justin, you had a tweet the other day. Alabama used to be bad. Alabama was bad football.
Mike Shula.
So just because it's going doesn't mean it will always go. And just because you run Cal out, you bring somebody else in, and then that's a bad hire. That's a bad hire. And the next thing you know, you got Scott Frost coaching your team. You've got, Michigan trying to do it with Harbaugh. That's all I'm saying is, let's give Cal a little bit of rope, because sometimes you shoot yourself in the foot. Think about it. You give Billy G one more year and what happens? You don't get Cal when he comes up. What happens to the program? These things, the momentum doesn't keep going. We've seen it with North Carolina, with Matt Doherty. Like, these things don't just happen because the fans care, because the boosters care. You know, it's not college football season unless we get an article that says, is Texas back? Notre Dame's in the college football final. How many people are betting on Notre Dame to win and be elite again? These things aren't automatic. So while I'm just as frustrated as everybody else, 1-6 doesn't make me happy. I think we just need to take a step back because this thing can get way worse for a long time.
Damn, he's always making sense. That Brown. Now, Justin, you know, I'm again throw the whole blue blood thing. You know, people liken Kentucky basketball to Alabama football. What would the hell happen if Saban had a year equivalent to what Cal's having?
Well, he would get another year. I mean, they wouldn't fire him for it. I mean, the Saban Calipari comparison is a little ridiculous. But I'm not saying because you brought it up. Everybody talks about it. I mean, the fact that Cal makes Nick Saban money means that you should have pretty high standards. Like it's been $60 million since the last Final Four. $60 million. And we make fun of Texas A&M paying Jimbo Fisher a $70 million contract. Last 5 years, last 6 years have pretty much been Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. You know, I will say, you take this year out, you can't run him off for what he did the previous 5 years, because in 16, 17, 18, 19, 19, 20, people were excited right before the tournament. They didn't have one this year, but they were excited, and rightfully so. Those teams were as good as Tubby's best teams, 32-4 exception, championship exception. Those are fine teams for Kentucky. But if he does it again next year, then I don't think you have to worry. You're trying to save the program from Calipari himself at that point. You know, I don't think Kentucky will ever be Indiana. Indiana is not paying a coach $9 million a year. I think Kentucky basketball, Kansas basketball, North Carolina basketball, Alabama football, these programs, are Ohio State football, they're always going to rise to the top just because of demand and those sometimes unreasonable demands that cause problems in the short term do cause them to rise eventually. But yeah, you're right. The fear of the unknown is a legitimate reason to tap the brakes.
All right. We got, let me cue this up. A fan sent us a viewer video comment question.
Oh, good.
I think you'll appreciate this.
Good evening to you all. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you all are enjoying your group therapy session after watching that basketball game against the Louisville Cardinals. And I posed a question to Jack Pilgrim last week, and I would like to kind of reinforce that question again. What I asked last week was, how come UK cannot take the orange ball and put it in the hoop? It's kind of a joke, but that's serious. And I asked the same thing again. How come orange people have a better aim than UK basketball? I'm sorry, I just have to stay on brand. But my second question really does bring up the point of, there seems to be one thing that ever since 2014, there's been a decline in either the excitement or kind of that dominance that UK's had, especially going into March Madness since that Final Four loss to Wisconsin. From someone from the outside who's not a diehard basketball fan, kind of notices. A couple of times that you made it to the region final into the Elite Eight. One time you lost in the second round. Another time you lost to Indiana. It just kind of poses the question. And what I've seen is there's only one distinct difference, and it's been the loss of Kenny Payne, who went to be with the New York Knicks. My question is, was Kenny Payne that guy that was able not to just coach the game better than what Calipari can, but was he the guy that was kind of the glue to keep these all-star players together? The one that was able to really get to know these guys on a little bit more of a personal level. a lot said that that's kind of the role Vince Morrow plays as well. Not only just a phenomenal recruiter, not only just a fantastic football IQ, but a guy that really gets to know these players on an intimate level and really knows their families and really knows what makes them tick and kind of knows their fears, knows about their personal life. Was Kenny Payne the heart and soul of this basketball team? Or are we now seeing the vacuum in the aftermath of losing him? Guys, hope you all had a Merry Christmas. May the force be with you and have fun. Good night.
Man,
That was nice.
honestly, yeah, I didn't realize how long that was. Once again, even the viewer part, viewer question, he hijacked the show. Max, love you, bro. So, I mean, we touched on Kenny Payne, but, again, just not to beat a dead horse. I mean, Kenny Payne. I mean, that's just been the one thing that is a very glaring thing when it comes to Terry. Go.
It's your turn.
Turn. I haven't heard from Jake. Jason, you jump in.
No, Terry, go ahead.
No, I don't hear. Who wants to? Go ahead.
All I was going to say was two things. One, I think the Kenny Payne thing's not overblown because I think we've seen this before. I think Orlando, and Carrie brought this up earlier, I think Orlando Antigua is proof that this is an issue because if you go back and look at Kentucky's last class where Cal got the players he wanted and not the second players he wanted, it was the 14-15 class, and that was the last class that Orlando Antigua was here to recruit. And we've seen a drop-off in recruiting. He has not gotten his top picks. He has had to watch Duke steal players from him. He's watched Memphis steal players from him. And now you've lost another major person off that staff, and you've seen another tumble, this time in the on-court play. So I think there is something there. And real quick, to go back to what Justin was talking about earlier, we talked about this on postgame the other day. I think we are seeing the beginning of the end for Cal, but I don't think it's him getting fired. I'm wondering if he still wants to be here because he's always said that 10 years was kind of his time frame. And I'm looking back and I'm starting to wonder if he was waiting to get to another Final Four or try to win another title and then go out on a high note. If he's maybe stayed longer than he wanted to because he didn't want to go out on a round of 32 loss to Indiana or a loss to Kansas State. And, you wonder if this is year 12, if it's just gotten to a point where it's something that is too taxing on him. I mean, look at how rough he looks right now. He looks tired. He looks worn out. And you just wonder if – I don't think he'd get fired. I think if you have a second bad year, I don't know that they're going to have a choice. But I wonder if he's going to try to find a way to rebound this next year, get to a high point, and then just walk away.
Let me Terry, go ahead. Real quick. Brown.
Oh, back to me? Well,
Yeah.
I think this is a valid point. We're talking about the assistant coaches. Growing up a Louisville Cardinals fan, I'll tell you, Wade Houston was Denny Crum's assistant coach forever and ever. He was the assistant coach for multiple Final Four teams, 2 national championship teams. He goes to Tennessee, takes Allen Houston with him, and Denny Crum never gets back to that elite level. So I think there's something to be said for your head coach is always great, but yeah, you need an assistant coach to ride or die for you. So seeing that take place, yeah, I can absolutely echo everybody's concern when it comes to the assistant coaches.
And you mentioned Alabama football earlier because that comparison, Alabama, Kentucky, Saban, Calipari. You look at who Alabama's hiring, the guys that are on that staff. Like it's the rock star staff. Does Kentucky basketball go out and make hires like that? I mean, I'm not saying necessarily that Cal has filled his staff with people that he's friends with, but there are people who feel that way. And, there are people who feel like Calipari, instead of going out and getting the next big thing or these rock star assistant coaches, if they even exist, and Payne was one, and he's got Tony Barbie and Joel Justice, and it's not an Alabama football staff. It's just nobody in there that just makes you go like, yeah, he's doing big things. So.
We touched on or commented earlier about the recruiting part. Justin, this season has to have taken a hit with recruiting. What top 5-star kid would want to come to the mess that we're dealing with right now?
Which is crazy because we were just talking about the NBA playoffs, and Kentucky dominated the NBA playoffs. This is a big wet blanket for that, huh?
Yeah, that's a good point. Jeez. Yeah.
Well, I think you could sell the idea of like, okay, yeah, this season was bad. You can be the dude to come in and bring Kentucky basketball back to Kentucky basketball. You know, I think that's the way he could twist that. Like, look, it didn't work. You're the guy I know can make it work. I'm really not worried about recruiting. I'm not. They've got like the number 3 class. They've got a lot of guys that they're targeting. They're going to commit in the spring. Recruiting's the last of my worries. Cal's going to get his guys. Okay. My worry is just the mentality of the staff and the team going forward, because there's going to be a lot of guys off this team, you would think, that are going to stick around. And
James, real quick, James, you're saying Cal's going to get his guys. That doesn't give me the warm fuzzies, because what have these guys? Look at the guys he's gotten.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I brought this up today on the take. Is normally Cal's able to
get your own show.
Cal's able to bring in usually like 3 top 15-ish type guys, and if one of those guys don't hit, he's got 2 other ones, and everything's okay. Mm-hmm. This year, he brought in 2 top 10 guys. Everybody else back end, top 20-ish, 30-ish. That was Devin Askew and Isaiah Jackson, and then Lance Ware in the 40s. Cameron Fletcher, 40s, 50s. Both his guys didn't hit in the top 10. He didn't have a third one in the top 15 to kind of pick up the slack. Mm-hmm. And there's no Shea Gilgeous-Alexander or Tyler Hero or Tyler Ulis diving in the rough type guy. He just missed this year. I think he just absolutely missed on Terrence Clark and BJ Boston. Cal hasn't missed like that before. I mean, yeah, Scott Labissiere wasn't very good, but at least he had Jamal Murray on that team. He hit with him, right? And he had Tyler Ulis.
But Boston and Clark, they were recruited by the same blue bloods that, Cal.
And the perfect storm happened. The perfect storm happened. They were, in my opinion, that's what the perfect storm of everybody, one of those guys. Both of them ended up being complete and utter busts, and that normally doesn't happen. So, I'm not excusing everything else away, because with guys with that perceived talent, you would think that somebody on that staff would be able to bring that out of them, and it's just not happening. It's just not happening.
Justin, I've said this several times in the last few weeks about Cal, and when it comes to recruiting, I don't think I don't think he goes out there and has to look for a player. He waits until the Justin Rowlands of the world delivers their evaluations on the top 30, 40, 50 players, and then he picks from that list. But at the same time, too, he stays with whatever he gets. He stays with. I mean, I think he's made it clear that, he says he doesn't play favorites, but he is playing favorites. There's the handful of guys get the benefit of the doubt, and these other guys are the whipping boys, if you will. A moment, a mess up, and they're done. I got to push back on Jack. I think this season is going to hurt us on a recruiting basis moving forward.
It's going to be ammunition against them for sure. I mean, anytime that you have a high-profile bust in college basketball, for most other coaches, it could break them. I don't think it's going to break Calipari, but that's everybody is looking at what Clark and Boston are doing, and Hunter Salas supposedly is not thrilled with how Kentucky fans are talking now on social media, and why are you tweeting this guy that you really want bad things? That seems so ridiculous. But it's a toxic atmosphere right now that's very difficult to recruit into, and that's even more problematic for Calipari because he has shown such problems convincing guys to stay and having guys leave prematurely. And the revolving door, I mean, they're going to get hit again by the revolving door. They might have some guys stay, but you're still going to have a bunch of guys go for one reason or another. And so that class becomes that much more important, and maybe you're relying more on transfers. And that's why I think it's a really precarious situation for him right now.
Terry, I know you got a thought. Yes, no, maybe.
No thought. I mean, my whole thing is I hope because Max brought it up, I hear it all the time about 2015 broke the program. The 2015 was the line in the sand. And I want people to say this out loud. Because my team didn't go undefeated, I'm less of a fan. When you say it out loud, it
gotcha.
It just, I'm like, you did not enjoy the Fox Monk Bam team. You didn't enjoy that team. Is that what you're telling me? That team was not enjoyable?
Yeah, it was a good team.
Oh, okay, cool. Last year, I enjoyed Emmanuel Quickly. He's SEC Player of the Year. Did you not enjoy him? I kind of did.
Do you remember we were complaining about last year's team?
We talked about Jamal Murray. And here's my thing about the fans that are always negative. Like, this is what they wanted. They told us in 2011 when Kentucky lost to a terrible Ole Miss team, this team's not going to the tournament. We said, sure they will. No, they won't. This team's terrible. They go to the Final Four. They told us in 2014 after the loss at South Carolina, this team is terrible. Well, you finally get to see what terrible really is.
Okay. All right, Justin, I know said that you would probably be off here before the show ends, but we've only got a few minutes, so I would like you to just stay on and let's switch gears. Football. Bowl game coming up. From all indications, all players, no one's opting out, no injuries.
I think all I know is Stoop said today they're close to 100%. So I guess the report by the former Auburn writer turned national analyst, who obviously doesn't have very good sources at Kentucky, was totally wrong. I don't know if Kentucky's going to be able to play the game, and we're 100%. Like, I don't know what he was getting, but yeah, it looks like they're going to be able to do it.
James, your thoughts with the bowl game?
Look, I think it says a lot about the players on that team that you're not having people opt out, because you see that all over the country, and understandably so. Like I like it. I get it.
Florida. Did you hear about Florida?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like it's been a taxing year. It's been a tiring year, and they're like, you know what? I just want to be done and go live my life and get ready for the NFL. Cool, I get it. But I think it does say a lot about the Kentucky players that aren't opting out and sticking with it and playing in one final game. Because I do think that they're disappointed in the season, in the way that the record ended up being, because they had opportunities to win games and didn't. So it's very encouraging that they want to stick around and actually finish on a high note, and then end their career that way. And I'm glad that unlike Louisville, where they just said, no, we're not playing a bowl game. I mean, and Stoops said today, like, he asked the players. This was not – if they would have said, no, we don't want to play anymore, we're done, we're tired, he would have been fine with it. And me too, I get it. But it says a lot when you ask your players, hey, what do you want to do? And they say, yeah, we want to play, coach. That's high praise. And I give Mark Stoops hell because, of the offensive things, but that's high praise for your head coach when you have an entire team say, yeah, we're going to play one more game.
Carrie Lewis, go ahead.
So first of all, I want to say that if you would have told me that college football would have even had a season, March, April, even into May, I would have said, you're crazy. You're insane. You're nuts. No way. So I want to thank actually college football for even having a season, UK for having a season. That I'm not kidding. Real talk here. That saved me on Saturdays. I'm not kidding. So, I'm glad that UK decided to go 100% in. I am excited that Vince Morrow is going to be coaching the offense. and calling the plays on offense. I am super, super excited about that. Super excited. I can't wait to see what he does. And
What if he does some crazy over the top and and then we'll be like, where the hell has this been? You know,
I'm gonna love
Carrie
it.
on this.
I'm gonna love it, every bit of it. I'm gonna love him calling every bit of it. And Mark Stoops came out today and said that Terry Wilson is absolutely 100% going to start at quarterback. And so yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad UK accepted the bowl bid. I'm glad they're 100%. And I'm glad we had college football. And if you didn't see the Cure Bowl, you need to go back and watch that. That's all I'm saying.
Wow. Jason.
Just real quick before these talks, I'm with Carrie. I can't wait to see the Vince Marrow play sheet. I can't wait.
It has to be bigger. It has to physically be bigger and have more plays on it than the Eddie Grant play sheet.
Tight end pass, 12 personnel tight end pass. Can be a lot of that for sure.
Yeah.
The tight end. Are we going to see Upshaw run the Wildcat? That'd be cool.
Terry Wilson, 5 offensive linemen and 5 tight ends.
Jason, go ahead.
I mean, I'm excited. First of all, if you told me a month ago that UK fans would be ready to watch football instead of basketball, I'd asked you what you were drinking. I hope Terry Wilson goes out and throws 6 touchdowns, and because James and I have had battles about this.
Big time battle.
I feel like Terry Wilson is not given nearly enough credit for what he's done at UK. I feel like a massive knee injury derailed his career. I think you saw his second year early on that he was making progress, and I wonder how much that knee injury just completely ruined his time here. No, I'm not talking to you, Google. I'm interested to see what this offense can do when the reins are off. And I hope Vince Marrow pulls out I hope we see a Statue of Liberty play. I hope we see the annexation of Puerto Rico. Put it all out there. It's a bowl game. Let the players have fun. Go out there and go for it on 4th down. Don't kick a field goal. Don't punt. I love our punter. Don't punt. Or let him run a fake punt every time. I just want to have fun on Saturday because 2 hours after we're done watching that, we get to watch UK basketball again.
Are they playing? I thought the game was.
Yeah.
No,
6 o'clock.
Mississippi State.
Tomorrow night.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right.
That's canceled.
Terry, football.
Go Cats! Cats by 90.
You good
Short
with
and sweet.
play calling and all that?
Oh yeah, and I'm with I'm Team Terry for obvious reasons, and like Jason said, we're looking at his resume, and I just think he's going to get forgotten about when we talk about great players like Andre Woodson, like guys that were really, really good that for some reason or another don't get the love from the fans. And I think Terry Wilson, despite his resume, is going to be on that list.
All right, Justin, I'm going to give you the final word for the night. Take us out of 2020 and into 2021. What's your vision for basketball, football in a minute, 60 seconds worth of take?
It's going to be a long 6 months, 8 months for Calipari, as the fan base, the way it is now, is going to get even worse and worse and worse. And how he navigates that in the offseason and the roster that he builds, I think a lot of people are going to be saying this is going to define the rest of his time at Kentucky. Next season will be the most important year for Calipari in Kentucky, other than maybe the first one. And I think on the football side, we went into this season thinking we knew a lot about the team. So many players returned. The quarterback issue was there with Bowden gone. But I think football is going to be very uncertain as well because you're replacing the best offensive line in the program's history. You got a new offensive coordinator, new quarterbacks coach, big staff turnover, 4 maybe new coaches on the offensive side of the ball. We don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. It's going to be a time of uncertainty for Kentucky this year, and that's fitting based on how the last one's been.
Send us, give us social media, everybody, where people can reach you at, and all that good stuff. Justin.
Yeah, Rowland Rivals, yep, and catsillustrated.com.
All right, everybody else get to plug themselves. Carrie Lewis, plug, go.
At GRLS Beer Sports.
Amongst other podcasts.
On the Twitters and everywhere good podcasts are free. That's what I'll say.
Jason, what say you? Plug you.
Jason UK17. You can remember writing at Bet America, and you can hear me and Stribble fight with each other after every UK football and basketball game on ESPN 680 1057.
There you go, Mr. Brown.
I'm
John
still waiting for a callback. I don't know what happened.
I'm just waiting for Stribble to opt out of one of the basketball games. So
I'm waiting.
We'll get you in there, Terry.
Off Saturday.
All right, Mr. American Gangster, Book of Eli. What else are you doing these days?
I'm at Cats Talk WED. Me and Vinny, we got a show tomorrow. I don't know what we're doing. I usually don't find out until later. But you can reach me individually and see all my rantings at tbrown_80. That's 80 for Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice. I didn't know that.
Yep.
All right. James, final take, and we're out of here.
Oh, you can just find me at JStreeble82, and I don't have a cool player that number represents. It's just the year of my birth. I wish I had a cool player that represented. But you can find me on ESPN 680 1057, UK post-game shows, and the Take 3 to 6, Monday through Friday with Andy Sweeney and Mitchell Hannigan, who's probably watching this and cutting sound right now to crush me. So that's great.
Love it. All right, Justin, thanks so much for hanging with us tonight and doing the full. Yeah, so good to see everybody. Happy New Year to you guys. Be safe and go Cats, and we'll see you in 2021, right?
2021. Finally.
Later, guys.